Hello, and welcome to another episode of the podcast where we look to reassure you that football is fixable. Alright.
I
That's sort of Welsh there.
Yeah, I just started to copy you. I don't really know why you did that.
Oh yeah, it was in honour for someone who I work with who's Welsh and he says alright a lot, so I thought it was a special tribute there.
But anyway. You didn't want to do a Welsh accent then, did you?
You know I'm brilliant at accents, so shush.
Yeah.
Right, well, it's been a major week.
Has it?
Because if you may remember, we did the dark arts in our last episode, didn't we?
We did, with Professor Snape.
Yeah, I don't think we should invite him back, though. He wasn't very, friendly, was he?
He was as untalkative as Coops, really.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. It's like having Coops here.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. But after we did that episode, everywhere was talking about dark arts.
I know.
We've influenced the football world yet again.
As soon as we released that episode on Monday, because we released it before BBC said anything about dark arts.
Yeah, we released it before the game that they were really talking about was the Arsenal-Man City game.
Yeah.
Or Man City-Arsenal, because it was at City. And it was the dark arts. So we kind of released that episode.
Yeah.
We were the first out, straight off out of the blocks. Out of the blocks.
Out of the blocks, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Some of the people follow us, don't they? So they must have heard it and then immediately thought, that's a brilliant idea, let's go down the dark arts route.
I even heard, I'm an Arsenal fan.
What?
Yeah. Wow. So I even heard Mikel mention the dark arts in his press conference as well.
Wow.
So I know we're making waves.
We are.
So it's been a big week. I've had a lot of stuff all over social media, on our socials and that, about Arsenal, dark arts, blah, 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 blah. And it's great, because I think we've gotten to the heads of the Man City team now. I think they genuinely must be fearing us, because they're moaning about everything now. Whereas before, it was all friendly and lovely and, bless Arsenal, that kind of thing. So I think we've gotten to Man City's heads, which is brilliant. In other news, did you know that they're going to tweak the handball rule yet again? I sense you're not very happy about that.
Well, yeah. We said this before, didn't we? The reason why there's so many rules and bullet points in the handball rule at the moment is because they're not trying to fix it. The way they're trying to fix it is to add more things to counteract the faults they made from the previous
rule. It's sort of counterproductive, isn't it? They go in the wrong direction to fix it. They're adding more complicated
instead
things.
Of thinking, this rule has ruined it, let's remove it, they've decided to go, let's add another rule so we can fix that
mitigate that one.
Yeah.
But you might like this one, because when we fix handball, and it's currently going through the works, well, they've clearly listened to us as well. This is UEFA.
Making waves.
Exactly. Yeah. This is UEFA, by the way.
Okay.
So UEFA are set to tweak the handball rule after admitting that the referee made a huge mistake at Euro 2024. Do you remember there was a Cucurella incident? I think it was Germany, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, he's Spain, but yeah.
Yeah. Germany against him. So
yeah.
Germany had a shot and it hit his arm, and it was very contentious at the time because it was on target.
Yeah.
And this is something that you've talked about in the past. So what they want to do is strictly punish.
Strictly punish?
Strictly. They want to strictly punish. I can't say it.
As opposed to really nonchalantly punish.
Not calmly.
Whatever.
Not calmly punish. They want to strictly punish instances where a player's hand blocks a shot on target. So the idea is if it's going wide, it's less severe, isn't it? And this is what you were talking about.
Yeah.
If it hits your hand, but if your hand wasn't there, it's going to hit your chest.
Yeah.
If
it benefits the player, the handballing player. I don't know how to say that, but if it benefits that player in some way, then it should advantage. Then it should be a handball, absolutely.
Yeah. So following the UEFA guidelines, hand-to-ball contact that stops a shot on goal should be punished more strictly. That's the official language they're using.
Yeah. So wait, punished more strictly as
well?
More
strictly, yes. Not just strictly, but more strictly.
Wow. I wonder what levels of strictness they endear to.
And in most cases, a penalty kick should be awarded unless the defender's arm is very close to the body or on the body. So that's very similar to what you were saying, really, wasn't it? So, do you agree with that? Would you say that's a good move?
Yeah, absolutely.
As it was your idea?
Yeah. No, I think it's a brilliant idea. I wonder who came up with it. It makes sense because it's the whole idea of what we said about offsides. The whole point of the offside rule was to stop the advantage people had of goal hanging.
Yeah.
So you always have to go back to the original reason why you came up with the rule. And I think with the handball as well, you need to go back to the original idea of stopping people from using their hands to benefit themselves.
Exactly.
And so even if it's in a natural position, if they stop a goal with their hand effectively, even accidentally, that's benefiting them in a way that it shouldn't. So I
Yeah.
feel it should be punished more strictly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How strictly, we'll have to wait and see.
Just more.
Exactly. Also, did you know, so now after last weekend's games, Opta, the supercomputer of Opta,
Oh yeah.
has now released their predicted final standings of the Premier League.
Yeah, I saw that. That was City were quite far ahead, weren't they?
So 10 points they're going to win the league by.
Yeah.
So this is, presumably, this has come out during this week, so this is after the Rodri injury, which everyone on a City persuasion,
Yeah.
with a City persuasion, that one.
But that's going to be it'll be after the Rodri injury, but before they knew it was going to be a season ender.
yeah,
I'm
maybe.
assuming.
Yeah, maybe the supercomputer's sweating now. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, because everyone's thinking, oh, no, he's such an important player. I think you think he's the most influential, don't you, at City?
Yeah, I think so. I heard, what was it, Rory Jennings say on TalkSport recently. He was saying that...
Is that the Chelsea fan guy?
Yeah, that's the one. So he said that Man City is still the most likely to win, even losing Rodri for the season. Which made me think, so basically, Arsenal lost by only 2 points last season. So what Rory is saying there is Rodri isn't even worth 2 points a season
Maybe.
for who he calls is the best player in the world.
I suppose, assuming that Arsenal will be just as good. I mean, we had a bloody good season last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it kind of depends on that. But yeah, you're right in that sense. Rodri was so important. And there was that spell during the season where he was out for a week or two, wasn't it? And they lost 3 games or something during that time?
I think it was in in the space of a year that I think City only lost 5 games and they were the 5 games Rodri didn't play.
Yeah, that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So the importance, and this is why some are saying, including you, and I agree with you as well, he should be in the running at the top end of the Ballon d'Or list.
Yeah.
But yeah, so City are meant to finish top by 10 points, then Arsenal, then Liverpool. Any thoughts on who would come in top 4, or do you remember when you saw it?
No, I only saw I only saw City being quite far ahead. But I would say that Liverpool's got to be third, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so Liverpool third, and then Chelsea fourth, Villa in the Europa 5th place spot. Do Everton survive though, Ces?
Oh, well, if this is going on the games before, I would say no. They must be in the relegation zone.
No, they survive. According to this, you're going to finish 16th, so you'll be fine, don't worry.
Wow. Oh, well, I'll stop worrying then.
There you go. So nothing to worry about at all. Ipswich, Leicester, and Southampton. So they're all 3 promoted sides to go down, according to this. Did you know that during the week we had Carabao Cup games, right?
Yeah.
Arsenal fielded our second youngest and our youngest ever player.
Yes. Is that the Nathan Nwaneri?
Ethan. Yeah, Nwaneri.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 2 years ago, he's now broken the Premier League record or whatever. He's 15 years and so many hundred days or whatever.
Yeah.
And now our second ever youngest player was our goalkeeper, Porter. His surname is, I think. I can't remember his name. I need to find. I don't know.
Okay.
But he's 16 years and 72 days old
Wow.
by that point. Oh yeah, since Porter was born. So his surname is Porter. I'm a true Arsenal fan.
Oh, blimey. So, what was that? 2008 he was born.
Yeah. Do the math. Quick maths. But in that time, he's never witnessed Spurs win a trophy. Because that was 16 years and 214 days ago. And wow, it's actually about 217 days now.
I mean,
there we go.
That is crazy to think, but kind of not crazy because Spurs have always been a joke. However, he was 5 years old when United last won.
Wow, yeah. That's how little football he's seen. That's not fair. He's not entitled to his own opinions on football if he's that young. Right, today, it's a big one.
Yeah.
It really is a big one.
Unlike any other.
I know we say this every week. This is really the big one.
Yeah.
So
this is the big one.
Why are footballers so unprofessional? They're not professional footballers. They're literally unprofessional ones.
Are you saying the professional footballers are unprofessional?
Yes.
Okay.
I literally am. So in my role as an inspirational teacher, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of those words is correct.
So I've spent all of my career so far, over a decade, educating young people, right? And what I've come to realise is that footballers are increasingly acting like school children. So footballers are children. That's when I was writing a few notes for this episode. I was thinking I need to write all this down because I've got a lot I need to vent off here. So
yeah. How old are the two new Arsenal players that made their debuts?
16 and 17.
Okay. How old are the kids you're teaching?
About 16, 17, 18.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah. But I'm referring to when I used to teach in a school. So I teach in sixth form now, right? So anyway, have you noticed how everyone started talking about the dark arts the other week after the Arsenal Man City game, and then we mentioned this before about the whole dark arts thing.
Yeah, we started the trend basically.
Yeah, exactly. And then loads of teams criticising Arsenal, well, not loads of teams, actually have been Premier League teams apparently reporting of Arsenal's
unprofessionalism.
Yeah, that one. Unprofessionalness.
Yeah. Unprofessionality.
Yeah. After that, we went down to 10 men against Man City. I mean, But anyway, did Arsenal invent the dark arts, Seth? No. So I need to say this. No. Good, correct answer.
Thank you.
So do you remember the way Bolton used to play in the Premier League?
Oh,
Sam Allardyce's
the
Bolton?
Allardyce route. Yeah. So with Kevin Nolan.
Oh, yeah, the elbows. He used to break defenders' noses and things. Elbows and kicks and stuff. Stoke as well, famously, were quite a big, heavy, kind of physical team.
Oh, Coops won't like that. Well, actually, probably would. He preferred the more physical.
Oh yeah,
way of
he
playing,
did actually. Yeah, he doesn't like that namby-pamby football, as he calls it. But yeah, and whether you call that dark arts or not, but they certainly used to get go hard. They actually ended up creating a few quite nasty challenges. When it came to Arsenal, I know Coops really relished those battles against Arsenal because we played that namby-pamby style. But was it Shawcross? I think ended up injuring Ramsey, didn't he, that time? But those, they went in hard, and you're open to the risk of those kind of things. I'm not saying he did not do it deliberately at all, but it's more physical is what I'm trying to say, to slow the game down and everything. Jose, though, even before that, when Jose first arrived at Chelsea, he was doing things like blocking the keeper, which Arsenal are now being pulled up for. Blocking the keeper isn't a new thing. And then also, Jose, whilst he was still at Chelsea, the term park the bus was kind of famed by his style. Do you remember?
That's true, yeah.
So this is not new stuff.
And
dark arts
even
aren't
before
new.
that as well, kind of playing on the mentality aspect to mock your opponents and everything. You had people like Martin Keown and Ashley Cole doing it to Van Nistelrooy. You remember the dirty Arsenal teams?
Well, those games, the Arsenal United games, often had a lot of kind of tackles. I think United, the way Arsenal lost our unbeaten run, actually, the 49th game at Old Trafford, that would have been our 50th game where we lost it. There's literally, go and watch YouTube clips of this. If you weren't born to see it, I'm still bitter. You know this, Sess. I'm still bitter.
I know. You constantly going on about it, even when we don't talk about that subject.
I know. And Rooney dived. Go and have a look, by the way, because everyone loves Rooney, don't they? I'm not biased or...
No.
In any way.
No.
But yeah, also you think Newcastle Villa, these days, have you seen Emi Martinez, how long he takes on corners and all that?
Well, he's a former Arsenal player, isn't he? Guess where he learnt it from.
Fergie influencing the refs. That was always a thing which Man United fans deny, but even the refs have come out from the time saying, we were fearful of Fergie and that sort of thing. So I'd call that dark arts. So anyway, putting that out there.
Although I wouldn't call the Fergie thing dark arts necessarily, because that he can't help if people fear him.
Oh, he knew what he was doing. He used to play, the mind games and stuff. I think that's dark arts.
Well, the other managers tried to do that as well. I remember Wenger tried to do it a lot. Mourinho, Allardyce, Moisey when he was at Everton as well. He was quite bad for that.
Yeah, I think as well as when you've and Klopp did it a lot at Liverpool as well. I think especially after you've been quite successful at a team, you've been there for quite a while, maybe the tenure, whatever it is, not 10 years, but the tenure.
It's more than 10 years.
You have a presence, and maybe it gives you a sense of confidence, or do you know who I am, kind of thing. I've been here a while.
Exactly.
This is my arena.
Yeah, especially considering the length of time that Fergie was there. What was it, 26 years? So a lot of referees probably started their careers when Fergie was already at United, so they only ever knew him as being the big manager.
Exactly. Yeah, so I think that's a factor as well. But I remember a couple of seasons ago, Newcastle came to the Emirates, and they wasted so much time on everything. Throw-ins, goal kicks.
That was last season,
free kicks. I think it was a couple of... There was another issue last season as a VAR thing, remember? But,
that was it.
A couple of years ago this was, and it got to the point where in the second half I thought, I'm going to have to start timing this because this is ridiculous. And from the 60-minute onwards or whatever, when I started recording like a stopwatch, I started to... Every time it went out of play, 17 minutes they took, just from 60 minutes onwards, so a third of the game left.
And I'd just like to point out, that wasn't VAR related either.
No,
Those kind of stoppages
exactly.
Yeah.
That was Newcastle's own doing.
Yeah.
And then Eddie Howe come out at the end of the game saying, we tried to attack the game. He had the cheek to say they tried to attack the game.
I mean, technically, it was an attack on the game.
Well, it literally was an attack on the game.
Yeah.
And they got a draw out of it. So, yeah, dark arts have existed for a long time. Maybe it's because Arsenal are, fighting for challenging for the league or whatever. Maybe it's more clicks in headlines, I don't know. But had a lot of it in the last couple of weeks. Did you see Haaland's actions during that City-Arsenal game?
Yeah, that was brilliant.
Was it? Throwing the ball at Gabriel and barging into players and all this kind of stuff. Which is, okay, fine. But if you're going to act like a kid, we're going to need to address this. So this is where we're getting onto today, really.
So I actually quite like it because for quite a few years now, it has become a little bit namby-pamby. Everyone's kind of
right,
hugging
Coops.
and chatting after the game, and it's just all become very friendly. I don't want it to be like what Keane says, when he says, like, just have a go at them. I don't want it to be like that.
Take him out.
And I think, where did that come from?
Fergie.
Okay. But yeah, I don't necessarily, I'm not saying that Haaland should get away with it. I think retrospective action on him is good. In the same way that, when I mentioned the whole Keown, Ashley Cole and stuff, when they did that with Van Nistelrooy, there was retrospective action on them. So I think it's fair to retrospectively give him a yellow card or something like that, some sort of punishment.
Some sort of action on
However, I quite like the fact that it's not just all happy, huggy all the time.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's kind of that competitiveness. It doesn't have to go back to what it was where everyone was anti-everybody. They hated everyone sort of thing.
Yeah, and it always brings it out of people when they're near the top as well. So when United and Arsenal were fighting, that's the reason why Keown and stuff had a go at
those games were both teams gave us, it's not all on one team or the other. They're both as bad as one another. Yeah,
and they bring out the best and the worst in each other because they're fighting for the title. There's a reason why they're fighting.
Exactly.
Whereas if you're in the middle, if you're a West Ham or Palace, Wolves, those kind of not fighting relegation or for the title, it doesn't come out as much. You don't tend
to get as much of it.
Yeah. And Arsenal, when they dropped out of the title race for 20 years or whatever, you didn't really hear that much from Arsenal.
Fergie kind of toned down a bit, and his relationship with Wenger kind of improved, I think, as well.
Exactly, yeah.
So you're right. Yeah.
And now that Arsenal have been for the last couple of years fighting for the title, and this season above all other seasons recently, it feels as though maybe City's going to be toppled over, especially with Rodri being out for the rest of the season. Yeah. And so City now know we can't just try to beat them physically or technically, we need to beat them mentally, which is exactly what United tried to do, what Arsenal tried to do.
It feels like maybe City, there's that insecurity now where they're not as confident, so suddenly everything's a bit more tense. There were some in that game, by the way Rodri went down and the Haaland, there's a lot of dark arts on both sides, to be honest. I'm not denying Arsenal. I didn't see a lot of the second half because I think I was driving off. I was playing football that night, but I was listening to it on the radio and they were saying, Arsenal are managing the game well, but even the pundits and stuff don't mention it. It's cheating, really, or it's not. It's within the rules, but that's why we call it dark arts.
Bending the rules constantly, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So Mark Howsey, old referee from the Prem, former ref.
Yeah.
So he's come out and he's got a column in one of the papers, and he said, you can argue it's violent conduct from Haaland when he threw the ball at the back of Gabriel's head after City equalised.
Yeah.
So you can argue it's violent conduct because it's like he's thrown an object at someone's head. It's like he's thrown a punch at someone's head, is the way he puts it.
Oh, wow.
I don't think it's quite like that, but it's just childish stuff. I think it's...
Yeah.
He's got... So it came out following that game that Haaland will face no disciplinary action. He's not going to be reprimanded for it in any way.
Yeah, I saw that. So that's something that I can't really understand. Above all things, the things that he said to the other players and pushing people and stuff, mocking Arteta, all of that stuff, you could say maybe retroactive, maybe not. The throwing the ball thing at someone's head, at any other part in the game, say for example, there's going to be a free kick taken and Haaland just picks up the ball and throws it at the face of any other player, that's a yellow card.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
So why is it not, just because... it's technically not in play.
Yeah, they just scored. Emotions are high. Is there more leniency there? There's another moment.
Is it that Gabriel didn't really react to it? Is that why?
Which is encouraging players to dramatise things and all of that. There was another moment in the game when City were losing, I think it was, or maybe when they conceded a goal. Pep goes and smashes his chair he kicks it in, which Wenger once got sent off for kicking a water bottle on the side of the pitch. He got a red card, had to go and sit in the Man United fans.
Mourinho had that as well one time. Yeah.
So it just seems, sometimes it's not fair. Anyway, so Halsey thinks that Haaland should have been banned for that. But I've got a better solution. So we'll get to the fixes shortly. But yeah, basically there's a lot of dark arts in the game, and it wasn't all Arsenal, just so you know.
No, it wasn't all Arsenal. I think they will now bring out the worst in each other. It's going to be every time City and Arsenal play each other, there's going to be some sort of tension, and you can feel it. The fact that Arteta actually was the assistant coach of a lot of those players, and he's now not even getting respect from those players, it just shows City have been told, you just need any kind of edge.
Yeah.
Stop being so nice and kind. Yeah, exactly. So I think alongside the physical and technical, they need to beat them mentally. They need any kind of edge to get past the idea that possibly Arsenal might do it this season.
Yeah. So
especially with Rodri being out, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. All of what we've just been saying is what has made me sort of come up with the next point I'm going to say, which is that football is not football anymore.
Oh, wow. What is it then?
This is quite deep now, isn't it? So it's not the game we used to know, Ces. I know we keep harking on about, 20 years ago, it was, the best, all this kind of stuff, and how football is evolving. Some people think, it's better now and all that. It's different is what it is, and a lot of it is really different.
Yeah, it's not the football we know. I get what you mean.
So the players now, they've always had players who will answer back to the refs and all that kind of stuff, but it feels more and more unprofessional as petty stuff, like the Haaland thing, for example. But there's other things as well, petty things and unsporting things as well. Do you remember going back, say, 20 years ago, you often see when a player's sent off or booked, something like that, unprofessional conduct or something like that.
Yeah.
You rarely hear this anymore, unsporting behaviour and stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of accepted, and you mentioned it on our recent Dark Arts episode, was it a couple of weeks ago, when the pundits and commentators, they don't mention either. They
just say, accept the diving.
He's gone down easy there. They'll say that. He's cheated or he's dived. He's trying to fool the ref.
Yeah.
These players,
and also just like to say, whenever foul's given, and then they look at the slow motion and try to justify the foul that was given by going, look, his aura was touched there.
He's gone down easy, but you can see a tiny bit. They try and fit it in. It's like
they're in the same postcode, so it must be a foul.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're seeing more and more of this happen, and what's really sad is it's less and less challenged. If that makes sense.
It's more and more accepted.
More and more accepted,
yes.
Exactly. Thank you. So what it reminds me of is when I used to teach in the school, and they're acting like kids. They're acting like, when I used to teach GCSE level and that kind of thing. And basically you have to put really sort of clear boundaries in place to know where they can act in it, because otherwise they'll run wild. And more players, maybe it's because of the salaries and other factors as well, that the players are so big and important, they're icons. Refs are now more and more diminished in their kind of authority and that kind of side of things. That's how it feels anyway. So in terms of the professional footballer, I think that's mostly gone now. It's now they're unprofessional. We need to fix this.
I mean, they're still professional in the sense that they're paid. But I know what you mean. The childish behaviour kind of all harks back to the respect thing that we've talked about in several episodes, where it used to be that everyone had the utmost respect to the managers and the referees. Whereas more and more, and also the clubs as well to an extent, but more and more the players have become bigger than the clubs, bigger than the managers,
in some ways,
bigger than the refs, to the point that quite often the players can almost influence the referees.
Well, it's almost like the players sometimes feel that I'm going to outlast my manager. The manager would be the first one to leave anyway, so they've got a sense of kind of bargaining ship there anyway. So it's almost like that respect, like you say, is going for a number of reasons. And this is, I think, if you speak to people in just everyday life, when you're talking about teachers when you're at school and things like that, so this is what I've been reflecting on. When you're thinking back to teachers when you were at school, you think, I couldn't have said, I need to be respectful, we need to respect them. These days, there's a different kind of relationship between teachers and students and things.
It's a lot more sensitive now.
Maybe.
It's so sensitive.
In some ways, When I used to teach in a school, instead of saying, because it was a 3-strike rule, basically, but instead of calling them warnings, they'd be reminders. And stuff like
see, this is exactly what I mean. It's so sensitive.
But
now.
It was a clear system, whether you like that word or not. It was a clear system, and the students would know, okay, it's a 3-strike rule. They play the game, though, so I got another strike yet, so I can mess around a bit more. So it didn't really work properly. But still, it's a clear system. Whereas the refs now, that authority is diminished. So I think we need to put a similar kind of system in place. Instead of saying, don't answer back, how dare you talk to me? These days, it's kind of like you sit with a student and you sort of say, why do you think that was disrespectful? And you get them to fill in the kind of blanks.
Oh,
If you
wow.
like. Get them to reflect. That's what we've turned into.
Okay.
And it's good in a way because it gets them to actually, rather than being told, they think is the idea. And I think this is what needs to come into football. So you're going to have to hear me out on this.
Okay. I hope it doesn't come into the military or something. Imagine
Detentions. So refs these days, they're still trying to be the kind of disciplinarians and stuff, but they haven't got that authority. They need the system and the processes around them to support them through it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, shall we go into the fixes then?
yeah, let's do that. Right. So, as I say, I've been reflecting on this a lot, and I'm using my experience from education, right? So,
Yeah, okay.
you have to bear with me.
Inspirational education.
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to be proud because, you know, I'm a traditionalist when it comes to football and not wanting to change it.
Oh, absolutely. It's let's go back 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
Let's
Everyone
go back
needs to wear the really long shorts and all that kind of. That's how it should
go
be.
back to black and white, and here they go.
And there they go. And it's a goal. So, I think we need to adopt an orange card
Between yellow and
in
red.
between yellow and red. Colour-wise, that's very.
It makes sense.
Yep.
It makes much more sense than a blue card.
Oh, yeah.
I've never understood that.
Although some of the thoughts behind the blue card maybe have influenced this in a way. I don't know. I thought of this the other day, and then the blue card kind of come to mind. And think, oh yeah, I can kind of see some overlap. But the yellow cards will be for small misdemeanors. You know, you might trip someone up or something like that, and it's like little things like that. And also yellow cards for like the totting up process. So if you do, 3 or 4 times,
A few minor offences.
yeah, that kind of thing. I want the orange card to be for unprofessional and unsporting behaviour.
Okay.
And in that list, we can still, because I know you could say, well, some refs will say, well, that is, and it's open to some interpretation. But still, we can have a clear list of boundaries in there,
Yeah.
like the strike rules and stuff like that. So it's things like, if it's unsporting, you're blocking a player off, or you're stopping that counter attack. You say that's unsporting. It's like anti-football, isn't it, in that sense?
Or like would you say deliberate handball? Would that be
unsporting? Yeah, it's deliberate handball. Yeah, we can go up with the whole definitive list. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Haaland behaving like that. If you're going to act like a child, then that's where the orange card comes in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a sin bin, and 5 to 10 minutes should be fine.
Oh, the sin bin. He's back. So basically, you're changing the blue card to an orange card with a few changes in terms of when it's going to be.
Philosophically speaking, it's about, so the player has to go and reflect. So in school, after you get those 3 reminders,
the naughty step.
it's like the naughty step. You have to go into, they don't like to call it isolation, but basically go into a room where they just have to sit quietly and do some work with some supervision. And they're away from the class where they're disrupting everything, that kind of thing. These footballers these days, I'm sounding so old now, but these footballers these days are so childish.
Yeah.
They need to go and reflect on their poor behaviour.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make us feel really old, but we're actually nearing being older than any player in the Premier League.
No. Really?
Well, yeah, there's going to be very few players over the age of 36 now, aren't there?
Oh, yeah. I think there are a few. Milner's still playing. He's older than us, isn't he?
But
so there's still a few.
We're nearing it.
Shush. All right.
Oh, okay, sorry. Well, so can I just say then, are you basically adopting rugby rules?
See, I knew you'd like this. This is my way of getting you on side as well.
Yeah.
So I'm a traditional football fan, as you know.
Oh, yeah,
but
absolutely.
I think we have to accept the game is now different. It's not the same game anymore.
Oh, John's not going to like this.
I know, I'm sorry, John. So VAR, handball, offside, all these rules keep changing. I mentioned in the news the other episode about the UEFA changing handball yet again and stuff like that. The pitches, the doctor stuff, it's all so different.
The doctor stuff.
Okay. The medical
Not
side of it.
treatments.
Exactly. It's all so different. Players now have such a different world to play the game in, basically. So I think it needs to be seen as a different game. It's the sequel. Old football is dead. That's the headline, by the way.
Well, that's what I've mentioned to you before, that football kind of, I don't know, I suppose they held themselves back more than other sports.
Yeah.
Sports, in a sense, they kind of just progressed naturally with technology and with the times, whereas football, they progressed in terms of being able to advertise more to the world and show more games and all that stuff. But they actually, in terms of the game, the rules and stuff, it was a lot slower, I think, than other sports. And then all of a sudden, in the last few years, they've started to adopt things and change. So
there's been a lot of change in the rules recently.
Yeah,
I'll agree to that.
It's going to be. Yeah, I can understand why a lot of people, traditionalists, kind of got their backup. against the wall in that sense.
Yeah,
you know?
it's not sometimes the change. We resist change and stuff, and
Yeah.
especially football's when you think when you're younger and you loved it, you don't want things changing, but it already has. You know,
Yeah.
goal line technology is another one. You know, some of it you might say is, maybe this is a future episode actually. Looking, what do we prefer? What do we miss from the old to the new kind of thing?
Yeah.
But it's changed so much. I think it needs to be seen as a different game now.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I'm looking at it from a rugby fan's point of view. So we said before the blue card, we don't really want it to come in specifically for the reason that they're doing it. I think they just said for dissent, didn't
It was
they?
dissent or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're going to use blue cards or sin bins in a sense, I would prefer it that they just use it in general as opposed to just for something specific. So with you, for example, with what you said with the orange card, that you use it specifically for like unsporting behaviour,
Unprofessionalism, that kind of
unprofessionalism.
thing.
Yeah. So the problem I find with that is there's going to be a lot of grey areas. Like for example, the Rice red card or the second yellow.
Yeah.
The second yellow should have been more of a sin bin. It
Yeah, I
shouldn't have
agree.
been enough for him to not play the rest of
Exactly.
the game.
That's so.
However,
silly.
he did break a rule, so him going off for 10 minutes and coming back on, I think would make more sense.
Yeah, he has to go and reflect. He also dived to the floor to exaggerate Veltman,
Yeah.
which Veltman got away with one, by the way, as we
That
talked
is
about in
true.
the past. But Rice also behaved like a child. So
Yeah. But there's
Love
going to
you,
be a
Rice,
lot of, like with VAR, for example, when it first came in, they only used it for 4 specific rules.
yeah,
4 laws.
that was
Which is annoying because there's so many times that they could have used it, but they were like, "Oh no, it's not one of the 4 rules."
yeah.
So it was just was
That's-
the right technology, but for the wrong reasons.
So I think guidelines, as it
Yeah.
Barbosa says from Pirates of the
Yeah.
Caribbean, only mirror guidelines.
Yeah,
And that's the thing. So guidelines were put in that, such as petty behaviour, throwing the ball, kicking the ball away, that kind of stuff. Some professional trying to slow the game down. Those sort of things would be for orange cards. But as guidelines, basically the term unprofessional, unsporting, those kind of terms. If
Okay.
you're within that category, and there'd be like you say, a list of guidelines in that would a ref can then interpret. The ref, this I think, so there's a number of ways, right? When you get the second yellow, that's it. The game's ruined. The whole team has to adapt, and it's happened twice to Arsenal this year, and it's just ruined the game.
Yeah.
We're holding on. It's just for such a silly. If there was a really dangerous challenge, you think, well, you got your comeuppance there, it's karma or whatever. But
Yeah.
this orange card is a punishment. It's a good punishment, but it doesn't change the game permanently. So there's that side of it,
Yeah.
which I think will help protect the refs a bit as well. So the refs won't suddenly make a decision and then, I regret that. The orange card gives them another kind of tier. So it's a 3-tier system to kind of fit, well, what was this misdemeanor kind of in? It helps them to kind of like make a less extreme decision. It gives them another option.
I suppose less permanent.
Less permanent.
That's the main thing, because I'd love it for dissent. So, for
Yeah,
example,
that's-
when they surround the referee, then you
Yeah.
could the referee could just say, "Fine, all 4 of you are going to be off for 10 minutes now. So, Man City, you're going to be 4 men down for the next 10
Exactly.
minutes."
The managers they'll be absolutely furious, and it will stop in no time. They will take
The
probably,
next week it will stop.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
do this. We lost the game last week because we had 3 players off for 10 minutes or something.
Although, actually, I will say, I can imagine the following week it'll make a difference, but 6 months down the line,
No, they need
as
to.
we-
No,
as
they
we
need-
know.
I know they need to keep doing it.
they absolutely need to. That's the problem. There's no consistency, and we've seen a lot of this inconsistency. I don't mind inconsistency in terms of the decisions that refs make as such. But I
That's
do
human.
mind, but it's it's
you
human.
accept that. Yeah,
Yeah, you accept it. Whereas when it comes to inconsistency in terms of following the rules, like for example the
Yeah.
yellow cards for dissent, that I can't
yeah.
really
It's hard
forgive.
one week, then not the other. But that's the
Yeah.
thing. That's kind of like, we're going to go stronger one week, and then that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
This orange card isn't. You need to go stronger. It's now a permanent thing. The orange
Yeah.
card's in the game now, just like a yellow and red card is. So it's not something that can die out. It's not in 2 weeks' time. There's no orange card. The orange card's permanently there now.
Yeah.
That's my fix.
What do you think of the whole debate about the fact that all it's going to do is the team that's 1 man down is just going to cause them to park the bus?
Yeah, well, if you think this is going to replace sending off, so Rice wouldn't have been sent off. They might park the bus, but it will be for, if you say 5 or 10 minutes sin bin, basically.
Yeah.
So the team would have to sit back and maybe do that, or decide if they want to do that. but it's not permanent. It doesn't permanently ruin the game, like you mentioned. So the game can still carry on. It doesn't ruin. As soon as Trossard got sent off in that Man City game, I thought, it was right on half time. So the whole second half, you're kind of dreading it, and it's kind of taken any enjoyment out of the game. For me, it wasn't, just counting the clock down.
Yeah, well,
anti-football in a way, it had to become so.
Well, that's the problem, because it works well in rugby, because in rugby there's two lines of play, almost one line of play in a sense, because each team basically lines up and clashes on each other to make one line effectively of play.
Yeah.
And you've got a couple of players like fullbacks that might be further back, but that's about it. Everyone is in a line pretty much. So everyone is involved. So if you have one player sent off, there's a hole in that line, which means you are disadvantaged.
Major impact.
Exactly. And it's not as though, because there's only that one line of play, you can't play defensively in rugby. I think
like you can't park the bus.
Yeah, exactly that. So you can't just go, right, let's sit back, lads, because if you sit back, then they will run all over you. Whereas in football, you utilise the majority of the pitch, which means that player that's been sent off, it kind of is dispersed in amongst the entire pitch instead of one specific line of play. So it does mean it's not as much of an impact as it is in rugby, and it does kind of almost encourage negative football.
Well, like I was saying in my old school, where the students would then play the game. I've got an extra life that I can use up. But the thing is, your manager won't be happy. When you're down to 10 men in football, I'd argue it still does have a big impact. I'm not saying it's the same as rugby.
Yeah.
But it would change your approach to the game. Most managers would want to go more defensive. If you're trying to win that game, that could have a massive impact.
Yeah, it does stop you from having the opportunity of being the attacking team.
Yeah, and more likely, it's harder to play with 10 men. So it's more likely you're going to have to defend, and there's a greater chance you're going to concede. So it's really the kind of the deterrent of stop acting like a child. That's what I want, the kind of principle behind the orange card. Stop being unprofessional, stop being childish, stop being unsporting. We need to bring more sort of sporting behaviour into the game. It's good for the kids watching, learning and growing up. Sin
bins have been used for the grassroots, haven't they? That's where they were testing the blue cards, for example. And they said it was largely successful. I think using I've said this before, using other sports and taking the best of the other sports, I think is something that shouldn't be frowned upon. It's something that footballers have really tried to stay away from.
And this is where I think this is how I've suddenly accepted it, because I've resisted against your rugby rubbish, right?
Yeah.
But if you have to accept football is not football anymore. So this is what I said near the start of the episode, right?
Yeah.
So football is not what it was. We need to accept that. And when you do that, look back and remember it in like a lovely way. It's gone to heaven. It's kind of like you have to remember it as the good old days.
Yeah.
It's a different game now. This is football
2.0.
2.0.
Yeah.
And I think going back to the grassroots thing you were mentioning there, the other thing I was going to say was that it will help to bring respect back to the refs, because it means that it gives the refs a bit more authority. The players know that they can't step out of line. There's actually a card here now that they can get, and they'll be off the pitch, and their manager will not be happy, and they'll probably have it start building into their contracts where they'll get fines or something like that as well. So you're letting your team down for 10 minutes if that's the case.
I can see that, and I understand your idea that football's changed. I wouldn't necessarily say it's not football anymore. I think for everyone who watches football or any kind of sport since they've been a kid, everyone sees that sport in two different ways in their lifetimes. One is what they know when they grow up, so that's become their standard. So for us, during the 90s and noughties, that became our standard
That's
of football.
where we learnt football, really.
Exactly, and that was the reason why we liked that sport when we got into it.
So that's it. It's a separate sport in a sense, because that was that
after
era.
That, everyone sees the football or whatever sport that it becomes as it changes. As soon as it changes from the standard, it becomes something else. So there's two types, one which is our standard and one which is everything else. And so that's why everyone we know,
back
the older people, back in my day, exactly. It doesn't matter if it's a sport, if it's there's something in education, in their work, technology. It's always, there's two different things they see: their standard and
what you compare it to. It's
Yeah.
always what you end up comparing it to. It's
Exactly.
the benchmark, if you
So
like.
from basically the 2010s, I don't know how to say it, 2010s, let's say.
Yeah.
From then onwards, really, mid to late 2010s, football's begun to change from our standard, and so from then on, it's become something else.
Yeah, there is a transitional period where we start seeing more, the kind of diving and the dark arts and these other things start creeping in more and more. But now the game has changed so much. So we need to stop comparing football these days to how it was. Like I said, we'll have to do an episode where we start saying what do we like, what's changed, and that sort of thing. But yeah, so it's kind of like a sequel, I think. It's still the same. It's still Star Wars, but it's instead of the originals, it's the prequels and sequels. It kind of changes, like you were saying, over different eras. That's one for the Star Wars fan. But yeah, so the core fundamentals of the game sort of are the same, but a lot of the processes have changed. So we need to see it as a different game now. Yeah. So do you approve of my fix Ces, the orange card, the 3-tier system?
Yeah, to an extent, I think I like it. I just think it shouldn't be restricted to just the unprofessionalism, unsporting behaviour. I think it should be. I think the refs should be allowed to utilise it in the way that they feel best, as a bridge between yellow and red.
Yeah. So when some people say, "Oh, that was a hard yellow" or a soft yellow. Yeah. So I suppose in that sense, it gives them an extra tier to be able to go in.
Yeah, exactly. So with tackles, for example, if for the first yellow they do something, I don't know, quite bad challenge, and then the second one, they accidentally brought someone down when they didn't really mean to. The kind of tackles where both of them slide in. And it's just a matter of which one got there a millisecond first. Yeah, and then the other one has to get a yellow card.
Yeah, the margins are so small. That's the other reason. There are so many yellow cards given these days because there's so many...
Well, exactly
you can't
that.
tackle anymore.
If they got a second yellow there, then I would say it's very harsh. But if you're told it was harsh, so by the letter of the law, you should be punished. However, you're back in 10 minutes.
Yeah, and that's still a punishment, and that's still go and reflect, go and sit on the naughty step. Yeah, in a sense, you get 3 yellow cards now rather than 2. If you want to think of it in that sense, a red card is worth 3 yellows because they're dishing out yellow cards. You can't challenge, you can't do anything. So there's so many yellows for petty things, so many other things. Yeah. But I do think that a key principle behind it should be the unprofessional and unsporting behaviour.
Yeah, that's something we've always tried to discourage. In a sense,
yeah, absolutely.
And, clearly, the Premier League's listening to us and wants to try and change it because all of a sudden they're talking about dark arts.
Exactly. So I'm looking forward to seeing this come in the next season or two. So that'd be great.
Glad that we have a new rugby fan in amongst us.
That felt horrible. Anyway, well, I'm sure rugby's great, isn't it? The rugby, I'm sure, is brilliant.
The rugby, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's time we get onto the fantasy football side of things, Ces. So now I think it's time for John's Juicy Tips.
Juicy. Give me those tips.
John's Juicy Tips.
Yeah.
Alright, here's some more tips that are sharper than a sword. It's John's Juicy Tips. This week I've got 3 bargain bucket signings for your team. Over the next few weeks, some of the poorer teams in the Premier League are playing each other, which should give some of their better players a chance for double-digit hauls. In defence, it's Leif Davis for Ipswich. He takes their corners, and he's really high and wide during their attacks. He got 18 assists in the Championship last season, and I'm expecting a few more in the next few weeks. Midfield, it's Dwight McNeil for Everton. He already has 5 goal involvements in 6 games. And he's the main creator for Everton. Plus, he's got a pearl of a right foot or left foot. I don't know. Which one is it? Wish I knew. In midfield, it's Dwight McNeil for Everton. He already has 5 goal involvements in 6 games. And is the main creator for Everton. Plus, he's got a pearl of a left foot, as we saw on Saturday. And up front, it's Jamie Vardy, because he's an absolute legend. Jamie Vardy's having a party, Jamie Vardy's having a party, Jamie Vardy's having a party. Juicy.
Thanks very much for that, John, as always. Speaking of FPL, have you seen who's top of our leaderboard in the last week?
Unfortunately, yes.
Right. You know this person. So Sam Jones. Is he someone you know then?
Yeah, he's a guy that he thinks he's Welsh.
Right, well, is that because of the surname? Or?
Yeah, well, he used to be Welsh and he decided to move to England. He's very English now. Supports Liverpool. English girlfriend, English kid, everything's English now.
Really adopted the English culture.
Yeah, pretty much lost his accent as well, but he tries to bring it out when he has a bit of
play
alcohol.
the Welsh card.
Yeah. Yeah.
He also has a thing for Arnie Slot, apparently, as well.
Oh, yeah. Is that the team name?
Yeah, Slotty Too Hotty.
He's actually, I'll give this to him, he's always got good team names.
Oh, okay. Fair play.
But he's doing very well. It's really annoying.
He's pushed our FPL guru, John, down to second place now. So, come on, John, you can't accept that.
You need to beat this Englishman.
But yeah, we've had quite a few changes and stuff. John, was top. We've had People's Front of Judea. We've had quite a few fighting for that top spot, but it's getting quite competitive now. And if you would like to join our league, you can join by entering the code 8B8E1L.
It will backdate you as well. So it's not going to be like you start from week 6.
Start from 0 points or whatever.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So you're getting whatever points. If you've been playing FPL, and even if you haven't been, join anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, get all your mates to join in. The winner, like we said before, everyone can put money in. You won't get it back, but
yeah, we'll happily take it.
Yeah.
The Football is Fixable All Right League. Do join it. So I think we've saved the day again, Ces.
Yeah, in us not liking the handball rule getting bigger and bigger, we're adding a new card.
Yes, it's just going to solve everything. Trust me.
Yeah.
You just need to trust me on this.
In about 10 years' time, there's going to be a rainbow of cards. That's one thing, actually. The ref has one pocket on their shorts and one in their breast pocket.
Yeah.
So they're going to have another pocket unless...
I put it in their sock or something.
Yeah, they'll have to have 2 on their bum.
Yeah, or 2 breast pockets, Ces. So you didn't have to go down there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Come on.
Start with the bum first, and then...
Maybe they could have like what's the fanny pouch? Fanny pack?
Yeah, just go, wait there a second, hang on, rifle through it. Yeah.
Anyway, if you have liked this episode, please do like and subscribe and follow. We're on all the socials, but also on Spotify. Please do that. It makes a massive difference.
That's true.
And yeah, I think all that's left to be said is it's goodbye from me. Thanks for listening.
And it's a goodbye from me.